Alright, just in time for the top stories of the week. My name is Austin Okinda.
And my name is Yul Taitina. Welcome as we unravel the stories that took center stage of our country. And here are the headlines.
On sensitizing our members to ensure that on 13th we are ready to carry on with the exercise of the strike.
You're not going to hold the country at ransom for forever.
There are many provisions which concern county governments, including the contentious housing issue, but they were not taken to the Senate.
On to our first story. President William Ruto has made new proposals to increase the monthly contribution to the National Health Insurance Fund, NHIF, compelling Kenyans to remit 2.75 of the gross pay to the fund. As per the head of state, this will be an equalizer in consolidating contribution into the health fund. And at the same time, a section of Kenyans have endorsed the proposal, saying it will enhance health services.
Kama mtu analipwa pesa mzuri, wacha alipe pesa mzuri. Kama unalipwa milioni moja, hii maneno ya 2.5, mimi nimeona ni mzuri.
Na hiyo ni sawa kabisa kwa sababu mshahara yao iko pale na iko permanent. Pia nikiangalia kwa upande mwingine, naona inaleta usawa na kweli serikali inajali mahasura.
The proposals, however, dealt a blow to the unemployed Kenyans, as they will be required to pay 1,000 shillings to the contributions, up from the 500 shillings they paid to access health services.
Mimi ni mama mwenye anauzanga tu mboga. Sasa hata kwa per day naweza pata tu shilingi 300 only. Sasa ndio naweza kwenda kuangalia vile tunaweza kula kwa nyumba. Yaani aturudishie hiyo nini kiwango chini tunaweza lipa sisi kama wenye hatuwezi.
Kenyans have called on the president to sort out the mess in NHIF and assure them of proper services and fund management.
Kwa sababu unaenda kwa hospitali unapata kuna mahali unaenda unasikia hata hizi kadi hazifanyi kazi. Umelipia hii kadi like mwaka moja ama mbili, alafu unasikia haifanyi kazi. So venye wanaongeza hii pesa, mimi naona haitakuwa inasaidia mwananchi.
To the next story, the Parliamentary Energy Committee grilled IPPs over the escalating cost of energy. An audit report by the Kenya Power Limited Company for the financial year 2022 has revealed a major disparity between the cost of power procured and the power procured from independent power producers. The financial gap, translating to billions of shillings reflected on the cost of energy bills to consumers, was the major subject during the grilling of independent power producers by the Parliamentary Committee. Of the 4 IPPs interrogated, IBA Africa, Thika Power and Gulf agreed to re-examine their power purchase agreements with KPLC to review its cost of production, while Trav Africa stated it has to first consult with its shareholders and lenders. The Parliamentary Energy Watchdog will grill additional IPPs with an aim of intensifying the inquiry of the escalating cost of electricity.
The amount of money that went to your bank account came from the common mwananchi. You are fleecing fellow Kenyans. It is wrong. That is where we should stop at.
Are you all in a hostage because we do not have other sources? Or what happens if we have those alternative sources?
The elephant in the room is not capacity charge, but fuel cost. It accounts for 70% of our billing to Kenya Power and Lighting.
You're not going to hold the country at ransom for forever.
On to the next story. Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has criticized National Health Insurance Fund for failing to make public participation and making a unanimous decision on to increase monthly contribution. Healthcare Workers Union wants NHIF to withdraw the increment and address the corruption scandals and poor service delivery. Kenya Union of Clinical Officers has threatened to down their tools in a fortnight if the demands are not met.
Those clinical officers and nurses who are employed by the facility, they account for more than 50% of health workers who are giving services there. So the moment you dismiss them, what happens to service? What we are asking Nakuru County is that they should absorb these healthcare workers, they should not dismiss them. They are supposed to absorb them. And we will be moving to Nakuru County to get audience with the governor so that we can be able to address these matters.
This is our demand, that the NHF conduct public participation fora to agree with the Kenyan on how to enhance contribution with the assurity of Kenyan getting quality of the money they are contributing. So we are also directing our branch official to embark on sensitizing our members to ensure that on 13th we are ready to carry on with the exercise of the strike.
Going further, Busia Senator Okiya Omtata has moved to court with a petition to amend the finance bill, questioning the legality of the bill, saying that the Senate has been sidelined in the decision-making as it affects issues involving the county government. He went ahead to say that the act goes against some provisions of the Constitution, including those in the Bill of Rights, and also defends that the act contained in the Act of the Constitution that had nothing to do with the raising of revenues. On the other hand, University Academic Staff Union also moved to court to challenge the act, saying that workers cannot bear the increased taxes without the increment of salaries. The interested parties named in the petition are Speakers of National Assembly, Commissioner General of the KRA, the Senate,
the Consumer Federation of Kenya, and the Kenya Export Floriculture Allied Workers of Kenya.
There are many provisions which concern county governments, including the contentious housing issue, but they were not taken to the Senate. And in evidence, I produced a letter from the Speaker of the Senate to the Speaker of the National Assembly complaining as to how the Senate had been sidelined in the process, yet there were issues like even housing concerned the Senate. It did not have the revenue estimates. It only had expenditure estimates. Yet the Constitution at Article 221 requires that the estimates of revenue and estimates of expenditure must be clearly spelled out. So there are very, very many procedural infractions.
Shifting focus to other stories, Kenya Bureau of Standards has now said it has started its inspection in the port of Mombasa following the seizure of a Range Rover that was imported from United Kingdom. Following an expose about 2 weeks ago by Citizen Television, Kenya Bureau of Standards visited the Regional Logistics Office based in Maritini, Mombasa, to hand over the Range Rover Vogue to Kenya Revenue Authority after KEBS impounded the vehicle for failing to meet required standards.
This particular Range Rover originated from the UK, and it came through UAE, and it was headed to Kenya. The importer is a Kenyan, and is an expensive vehicle that has been fraudulently brought into the country.
The vehicle imported by one of the former governors into the country was said to have a similar chassis number with another vehicle in the United Kingdom.
There are processes that we have put in place for inspection of motor vehicles as they come into the country, and inspection can be done out there by our inspection agencies. But if you bring your vehicle into the country before that is done, there are also processes that we shall do to make sure that fraudulent activities do not happen. So any other fraudster who is out there thinking that the destination for fraudulently acquired vehicles will be Kenya, we are putting them on the spot. We shall be able to intercept. For anyone who is bringing in the vehicles, if you bring it for destination inspection, there are specific things that we require, and we'll be able to intercept in case there is any fraudulent activity in this trade.
Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma proposes changes to the EACC Act that will give access to persons who have been convicted of corruption cases. The MP is seeking to do away with EACC Act of 2003 Section 64 that keeps corruption and economic crime convicts from holding public office, claiming that the 10-year ban is unfair and the subject will have faced consequences if found guilty. The proposed change has received sharp reactions from EACC, saying that the effect of the repeal is that the appointed state officers who have been convicted for corruption or economic crimes can now be appointed back into offices they held before the conviction or any other public service office. The EACC has as well given reason that the repeal would take away the deterrence value inherent in the provision, since any public officer who may have been keeping away from corrupt conduct, fearing the 10-year ban from public office, will no longer have nothing to fear.
On to other stories. By allowing 3 advisors and the UDA party secretary general to the cabinet meetings, did the president violate the constitution? Barely 2 years since similar actions by the then President Uhuru Kenyatta were found in violation of the constitution, a section of legal experts have questioned President Ruto's actions. According to Article 152 of the Constitution, it is spelled out members of cabinet include the President, Deputy President, Attorney General and Cabinet Secretaries, limited between 14 to 22, giving a total of 25 members of the cabinet. The 3 advisors and a Secretary General are none of the 25. Article 154 establishes the office of the Secretary to the Cabinet, whose duty is to keep business in the Cabinet in order, keep the minutes and communicate decisions of Cabinet to the appropriate authorities. With oath of secrecy by the 4 new participants, questions abound over the place.
So you may find strangers now who invoke undue influence, who probably participate in decision-making processes around issues of national and public interest without the authority that should come from the people.
3 years ago, current Auto CS, then MP of Kandara, Alice Wahome, petitioned the High Court questioning the clearance of Nairobi Metropolitan Service NMS Director General Mohamed Badi to attend cabinet meetings. Justice Mrima found General Badi effectively becoming a member of the cabinet by taking oath of secrecy. Mrima found that the Constitution in Article 132 does not accord the President any powers to appoint anyone into the cabinet, finding Badi's participation was in violation of the Constitution.
What extra value do they bring to these meetings? The question would be for the extra people who have not perhaps taken a similar oath but participate in the proceedings of an institution of people who have taken a specific oath of office, whether this could processes and the decisions that eventually come out of such an institution.
In September 2021, Justice Mrima found that Badi's inclusion of cabinet meetings was mass secrecy. It lacked transparency, and since he was never vetted by the National Assembly before sitting in cabinet, there was no means of oversighting him. Justice Mrima found out that Badi's term of office was an illusion and that he was a stranger in cabinet. The decision of the High Court was not challenged, and Badi immediately ceased attending cabinet meetings officially. At the moment, Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service Felix Koskei also attends cabinet meetings. There is no constitutional provision allowing him or requiring him to sit in cabinet or attend cabinet meetings.
That Kenyans really wanted a limited and constrained cabinet, and hence the numbers gives a valid justification that perhaps no other persons should attend those meetings.
On to the last story of the edition, which is rather a sad one. 2 suspects are currently in custody following the death of Tom Osinde. The DCI detectives are looking to unearth the motive behind the murder of former National Treasury official Tom Osinde, who was reported missing on the 18th of June, only to be found dead and his body dumped in River Kuja in Kamagambo at the border of Migori and Kisii counties. The police are as well investigating, number one, claims that there were other people believed to be Tanzanians in the deceased house on the day of the incident. Number two, answers on mysterious tampering of electricity connection in the deceased house.
Number three, how they managed to execute the murder and dump the body. The main suspects are in police custody and will be detained for 21 days after the police asked the court for more time to conclude investigations.
Two switches are interfered with upstairs, but we are still investigating. So I cannot tell whether it was before or during the period, because the family members, close family members, were not around during the period.
Alright, to sum it up, today's word of the day is magnanimous. Magnanimous means a generous or forgiving, especially towards a rival or less powerful person. An example, Deputy President should be magnanimous in victory.
On to the quote of the day. The quote of the day is, opportunities don't happen, you create them.
What a quote that is. And true to it's saying you make them happen. My name is Austin Okinda.
And my name is Yulta Tina.
Let's meet again next week for another edition. Have a blessed time.